My name's Jessica Miller Merrill. I'm the founder of Workology, and I'm really excited to talk with you today. I want to talk about HR technology. First off, if you're watching or listening, can you leave me a comment? I am streaming on multiple platforms, and so sometimes I can see likes, and then other times not so much. So if you send me a like or a message, let me know that you can see my message, and I really want to connect. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about HR technology. It is nearly a $17 billion industry. I don't know if you're familiar, but HR technology, HRISs, applicant tracking systems, sourcing and recruiting technology, all those things related to human resources is nearly a $17 billion industry. And that is as of 2019. So it's big money and it's big business. And I also think it's becoming increasingly complicated. There are so many players in the market. There are so many different choices, and there's so many different features and benefits, not to mention company sizes. That just throws everything into a tailspin. If you are an organization, so it's a 25,000 person organization versus a person who is at a 250 person organization, the types of technology and support that you're going to need are very different. Not to mention industry specific. If you're in the construction industry or clients that I've worked with before, like I worked with a tugboat company and some employment branding work, and you would be surprised. Not a lot of them use a applicant tracking system. But if you have a 25,000 person company or you're in tech or in another space, these are absolute requirements for you. So right now, the current state of affairs, where we are living and working virtually right now, in part due to COVID-19, makes it extremely challenging. Conferences are canceled, in-person events are not happening, kind of your old standbys, and how we shopped for HR tech has completely been disrupted too, not just to mention the way that we're working. So I want to talk to you today about 4 questions that I want you to ask your HR technology vendor. 4 questions to ask your HR technology vendor. So let's get started, shall we? So these are 4 quick key questions. I'm going to assume that, and we're going to keep it broad. I'm not going to go into like a CRM or an HRIS specifically. So question number 1 is, how exactly do you integrate with whatever the name of the other piece of technology that you're looking in? So you need to ask about integrations. This is extremely important for you. Integrations are everything. So asking about integrations, that's the first step. What I would also challenge is not just asking and taking their word for it, but talking to a customer or a past customer or current customer just to verify. I'm not saying this happens all the time, but it does happen a great deal where they will tell you that they have an integration with an HR technology product or service when in fact they do not. Because what they're doing is, as soon as you say yes and sign the contract, they're getting on the phone, finding the partnerships guy at whatever insert HR technology company is here, and then saying, hey, we've got a customer, they have an integration with you, we really want to get started. So you need to make sure it is a current integration. Or if not, what is the timeline to be able to get that integration? The other thing to remember is that integrations take time. It's not just simply we're switching things on and things magically happen. It takes time to build those integrations. So ask if it's on the schedule, and then what is happening with that, okay? It takes a minute, sometimes longer. 6 months, a year, 18 months for integrations to be completely worked through. So that is your question. You want to make sure that they have an integration with the technology that you want to integrate with. And then 2, if not, what is the timeline for that? And or can I talk to somebody who already is using said integration? Okay, so that is step 2. Okay, let me see here. Question 2, I want to refer back to my notes. Question 2, you need to ask is what resources are needed from your company in order to ensure that implementation is successful. A lot of times we sign on or somebody signs on with an HR technology product or service not fully understanding everything that's involved with this implementation, which is why you need to ask, do they have a team? Do they have a process? And what does that look like? How can they support me to make sure that I have a successful implementation of their technology? If you are working or using one of these larger technology companies, let's say Workday or Oracle or whatever, these are more complex. And oftentimes you'll have to bring in outside consultants or bring in integration specialists or consultants into your organization. It depends on the contract, the number of hours that they're going to provide you, if any at all. So you want to be really clear. How are they going to support you for this application, for this new changeover, for this new technology implementation? And what does that look like beyond the implementation? Because a lot of times, it's done, wash our hands, we move on. So you want to make sure that these implementations, that they are continuing to support you, maybe in a diminished capacity after 90 days or 120 days and so on. It really just depends. If you're working with a really complex system and you have a lot of different integrations and different things taking place, a lot of different moving parts, you might need support beyond 6 months, maybe a year or a year and a half. I just finished a podcast interview a couple weeks ago with the CHRO of Baylor, and they have been working on their Oracle implementation for 4 years. 4 years in process, just went live during March, April timeframe. And now they are really starting to work through all the challenges and changes and making those enhancements. So it's not over yet. And we're in September of 2020. So make sure that you understand the support that they provide during this time, because it's not always clear. Now, this should be in your contract, but ask those things. Is it in addition? Is it separate? Are they going to give you 120 hours of implementation support? What does that look like exactly? All right, moving on to number 3. This is the third most important question that you should ask an HR technology vendor as you're shopping, looking, and evaluating for new HR tech. How does the implementation plan address change management? So for so many of us who are supporting or working within or involved in the implementation, but not directly involved, that would be your people. So how are we providing support resources for the change management process? Because it takes employees a long time to be comfortable and okay with change. I think that right now, the pandemic and the time that we're living in, we are change taskmasters, we're change ninjas, but that isn't always the case. Even one small change right now, because the workplace and the business world is so volatile, can really throw your employees a loop. So we want to make sure that we have proper change management processes and programs and systems in place so that we can support your employees with additional training, troubleshooting, and resources. Where do they go to get the support? So they're just not on the phone calling HR saying, hey, I can't log in to look at my pay stub. What does that look like? What type of training and support? The worst stories and examples, horror stories, I think we've all had them, but I think to sit, I feel like I'm an HR technology drama magnet. And so for a while there, every time I was in an airplane, I ended up sitting next to 5 times in a row, sitting next to an HR person who had an implementation horror story where payroll didn't get paid on time, or people couldn't record their hours, or systems were down, or things weren't talking together. So make sure that we have a way to be able to navigate change, but then also how do we train, communicate, talk, support our employees who are going to be going through this new change? How do they be able to do the things that they used to be able to do? How do they be able to make sure they get paid, enter their hours, support their teams, et cetera, et cetera? That's question 3. Question 4 is, who will be our regular day-to-day contact after we go live? Are we assigned an actual person, or are we calling into a 1-800 number, or is there a support email that somebody on a team is going to respond to? The best case scenario is that you have somebody in the organization, or they have somebody that's your point person that will kind of manage and support you. But oftentimes, especially in organizations that I feel like are sweet products, or they have scaled very quickly. They take an approach where you're calling a call center and you are not talking to the same person, and the email goes to a random email box. It happens to me with HR technologies all the time, or just technologies that I have questions on in general. So we want to make sure, I would recommend that if you're paying a prime amount of money, which most of us are, it's a $17 billion industry, that you have access to a single person. And this account manager can be able to help you with whatever you need. Regardless of the type of support, they can point you in the right direction so that you can be successful. There's nothing worse than emailing and sending things out to just a random person in the middle of nowhere. You never hear back. You have a problem, you need a solution. It's so much better when there's a relationship and there is somebody that you have a personal connection, even if it's a digital one, that you can talk to and connect. Okay, so those are our 4 questions, the 4 most important questions you should be talking to your vendor about during the demo. Now, there's also other questions that you're going to be asking about price. Integrations are certainly important, login, portal, security, those kind of things. But these are kind of the 4 basic questions that I think are really impactful and important for you to be thinking about as you're looking at new and different HR technologies and services and those providers. I would love to invite you to an event that I'm hosting on October 5th through the 9th. It's called the Virtual HR Expo, and it's a place for you to be able to connect with 35 different HR technology and service providers in a single place. You will have access to all these companies. You can shop around, visit their demos. They're all 30-minute demos that happen on different days. We're focused in the following categories: employee engagement and culture. Category 1, wellness, benefits, and compensation. Category 2. Category 3 is talent attraction. Category 4 is talent management. And then I'm losing my mind. What's the last category that I'm looking for? There's 5 categories. You can learn more about it and visit at virtualhrexpo.com. You'll be able to see some of the companies that are taking part of the expo. They want access to you. They want to talk to you. They want you to be able to ask questions in a casual atmosphere where you can shop and look and grow and build. The expo itself is a $29 investment, and you can sign up to be a part of it. Put in your credit card information at virtualhrexpo.com. The companies that are featured, these are companies for organizations that are size 200 to 20,000 employees. These are some of my favorite HR technology companies and service providers in the industry. They're going to talk about what they're working on, what makes them unique, how they're helping organizations like yours. And then you can ask those tough questions like we talked about and take things further and really see how they're adding benefit and how they can enhance your current HR technology systems, processes, and then support the larger organization. So that is happening October 5th through 9th. All right. Well, those are my 4 questions. I think it's incredibly important. Now we start looking at refining and changing and evolving our HR technology systems and processes. Just because we're in a pandemic doesn't mean that business is going to stop. In fact, I think it's more important that we have systems and processes and new technologies in place that are impactful, innovative, and really enhance the employee experience, especially since now so many of us are online and we're working completely remote. And for many of us, it's going to be happening for the foreseeable future. Now is the time to think about HR technology, product, and selection. It's more important than ever before. The world has completely shifted. The world is different. We are living in a completely different time than we were 6 months ago. And I want to be able to help you. And we can start that with the HR Technology Expo. You can go, HR Virtual Expo. I'm losing my mind. It's virtualhrexpo.com. All right, guys, I'm going to head on out of here. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave a comment. And I am excited to be hosting the event, 35 different companies in all different areas of categories, live demos, conversations, learning, all things about buying and purchasing and researching HR technology, not just for 2020, 2021, but even beyond. I'll see you guys soon.